Welcome back to Fantasy Overwatch Underground, everyone. This is going to be a pretty chill video, as you saw boring content queued up for you. So, what do I mean when I say 5 boring players? I'll get to that soon enough. Soon enough. Got a quick rant about Overwatch 2 and the beta, and then we'll get to our 5 boring players on the eve of Overwatch League Season 5. So, short rant about Overwatch 2. I'm enjoying the technical beta, but I don't know what to make of this for purposes of statistics or meta or fantasy Overwatch. I can read the stuff that everybody else does too, and I'm like, maybe Soldier Genji, Doomfist, Lucio are meta. Maybe they are. But you know what? Maybe they aren't. And even if they are, what does that mean? I've seen a lot of well-worded tweets, and you read it and you're like, yeah, that must be true. And people in Discords jumping to conclusions. I'm rarely the first to do that. I'm going to sit back and wait for the statistics to come in and try and be calm, calculated, and measured. So, what are my sources right now? Basically, I ignore everything from my own gameplay experience. I ignore everything that content creators say, with one exception, and I wait for the stats to come in. And the chart that is up here, over there, none of this stuff means anything to me anymore. Yeah, Moira's probably still the most valuable hero in Overwatch. I'm kind of leaning that way, but I have no idea. I'm going to wait till it all comes in. So I'll be watching Stats Labs when it comes out, refreshing and giving you the most up-to-date info on what this means for scoring, what it means for stats, and what we're actually finding out. Until then, not jumping to any conclusions. Now, what content do I trust? Well, I trust Tactical Crouch Podcast. I'm sure you've listened to this long enough to know that I'm a huge fan. So why do I trust them? Scrimbucks, do I trust those? Kind of, sort of. But I think... Oh, okay. Sorry, I should say no. No, I don't trust Scrimbucks. But Yiska on TCP has been doing this for years, and he does a really good job of parsing the junk that's out there. He talks to enough teams, parses the bad news, what's not true, and provides it. And I found over the years his power rankings and overall what they say on that show is the most reliable. That said, I take everything they say with a grain of salt, and I'm crossing my fingers that for my own predictions that NYXL do better than they're saying over there. Go check out their stream, their YouTube, their podcast. Highly recommend it. I'm not going to get into the detail here too, because we have to talk about 5 boring players. What does that mean? Why do I want to talk about boring players? Well, I'm always trying to come up with terrible puns, right? That's me. Bad jokes are kind of one of my things. So, for years, I've been doing something before the season starts. I skipped last year, and I highly regret it, where I try to come up with players that I like more than the average person. It used to be when there were multiple people ranking for fantasy, I'd find where they ranked these people really low and I ranked them higher, and I'd say, those are the people I like better than everyone else. Not saying they're like, oh, these are the best players in the league, but where my opinion is higher on these players than for most people. So I've got 5 players that fit in that category. Why are they 5 boring players? Well, it's a terrible pun, but I've been looking for a name for this segment for years and I finally got it. All right. So 5 boring players. This is Fantasy Overwatch Underground, right? Because I do content no one else really cares about. And we're sort of indie, right? The production, the content, everything, it's indie. I'm not making this for the mainstream. I'm making it for me and a handful of you that actually enjoy this. So, Underground. What's Underground? Well, Elon Musk has his underground tunneling company called The Boring Company. So, Underground, Boring Company, 5 boring players. I am so sorry for that. Let's get to it. Boring player number 1 is Piggy. I always come back to this clip. Maybe I like it a little bit too much, but Dante on the Echo copies D.Va and kind of just chunks in a bomb. And then the casters are like, oh my gosh, Dante has such a good bomb. He's such a good Echo. His copies are so good. But when you actually get the POV and you're watching Piggy, you know, the Spitfire out of range, they're doing kind of what you're supposed to do, and Piggy just boops him right into range and gets a 2K off of it, all to Dante's credit. Doesn't show up in the stat book, but I think Piggy right there is someone who did the small things well. Everyone says, yeah, he can play Sigma. Well, he's actually got a really good Zarya and he's got a really good D.Va. I think he's fantastic on those 3 heroes, assuming he also picks up the Doomfist decently well, which it seems like the off tanks these days typically are. He's got at least 4 heroes in his wheelhouse. I'm never expecting him to be a great Rein or a great Ball when you consider who else is out there in the league, but he, more so than people give him credit for, is a flexible off tank who should be playing 100% of the time. If D.Va and Sigma are still valuable heroes for fantasy, I think he's going to have a tendency towards those. He is not going to hold the Outlaws back due to lack of flexibility. Yeah, they won't be able to do what the Fuel or what the Dragons will, but they'll be good enough. And I think they deserve one of those top 5 slots in the Western region, and Piggy is going to rack up some points. Come on, D-Hulky, you can do better than that. Piggy's obvious that he's going to be good. Number 2 on the list is Faith. Anytime a team keeps a main support after a bad year, I kind of have to take a second look. And I went back and looked at clips over the year. And I just, based on my own notes, based on clips, I just caught, maybe I'm lucky, but I just caught a high volume of Faith making plays on a mediocre team. Though typically on Brig, where I caught him doing stuff, and in this case he gets a really nice bash on BQB's EMP and shuts that down. But regularly see Faith do that on the Brig. Going back to his time in Contenders, he was a really good Lucio. And I mean really good. Playmaking. Now, you know, it's hard to compare to guys. Like, I'm not saying, oh, he's better than Chorong or anything like that. But I think Faith is a top tier. You know, and when I say top tier, no S tier. He's not Lee Jae-gon. He's not what we think Chorong will be. But I think he's in that A- tier of main supports where he is well above average. And I think a lot of people don't view it that way. So he's got the Brig, he's got the Lucio. We'll see. I think Crimzo and MCD, I actually really like both of those players too. So I can't guarantee Faith gets 100% playtime here or anything. I don't really expect that. But I think in a world where main support is meta, he's going to be pulling the Uprising forwards. And the Uprising, I think I tend to like them a little bit more than your average person as well. Number 3 on my list is Shockwave. I really like Shockwave, and I will be the first to say he did not look good last year. His Echo regularly outplayed by the other top tier NA DPSs, often switched over to the Ashe and the Sombra, and frankly none of it was very exciting. Fusion were kind of a mess. Should I blame Shockwave for that? It's easy to follow the narrative of, oh my gosh, they were all separate, but it doesn't change the fact that Shockwave did not match the mechanics of some of the other DPS players. And really, as excited as I was for him to join the Fusion, it's not like they saw like an uptick in performance when he came in. So this is a very faith-based vouching for Shockwave, where having seen what he's done in previous years, looking at his level of what I'd consider a hyper flex player who can do both the hit scan and projectile, I think that could be of a big benefit over the course of this year as we see things changing up. I think he'll be better than expected, even amongst those who tend to be Shockwave fans. If we go back to the Shockwave Rookie of the Year club, I'm hoping and somewhat expecting to see a return to performance somewhat like that, where we're once again talking about Shockwave being a very exciting talent, rather than where we're at right now, where it's like, I don't know, maybe he can do something, maybe he can't. For number 4 on my list, I once again have to hype Alpha Yi. I keep trying to hype this guy up. Not that people that make content come back and watch this channel, but I'm going to say that I think the Spark could surprise a lot of people. At some point, your talent overcomes your, I'm not going to say your bad management, but overcomes the perception of your bad management. Maybe all the players on the Spark haven't been that incredible in previous years that fit the narrative. Alpha Yi is an incredible player. Shy in the right metas, much like Alpha Yi, is also an incredible player. And I think last year they were really missing that good second DPS who could make plays alongside Shy. Alpha Yi is that player. If one of their 3 tanks work, and I really hope Liga's mental is back up to par, I think their tank line is decent, and Irony and Super Rich are also good enough that I think the Spark could punch above what people think. And I think it's going to be behind a pretty nasty DPS duo that in the right metas can hold their own against Seoul. No one can really hold their own against Shanghai, right? But if someone was going to outplay Lip, maybe it's going to be Shy in the right meta. And if somebody is going to outperform Fleta on the Tracer, I'm going to say it right now, Alpha Yi is on the short list of people who I would actually not be surprised if that happened. And all of a sudden, if your DPS line is outplaying Shanghai's DPS line, maybe you've got a fighting chance. They're one of the few teams that could do it, and I don't think a lot of people give them enough credit. Yeah, I'm not going to predict them top 2 APAC, but tempted to. I'm tempted to. Number 5 on the list is Although, and in one of my favorite clips of this last offseason, Although plays the role of the very patient Tracer player who, alongside Hisu, who I also tend to like more than the average person, could make for a shockingly good DPS lineup. When you look at how good their support line is, if they can get even mediocre tank play, I think this is another team that will at times surprise much more than people expect. I am in the Toronto Defiant fan club this year, and I have not been for quite a while. And although being able to play the Genji, the Tracer, and probably some more heroes I'm not thinking of at the moment, I think Although is going to be a really good complement to Hisu's hero pool. And I don't really expect to see much Finale. I'm pretty bullish on the Toronto Defiant this year. I hope this last show before we never talk Overwatch 1 again or show ever again another Overwatch 1 clip, I hope you enjoyed it. I am making this list for me. I have to come back at the end of the year or next year and say, see, I told you that I said these guys are going to be good. Being the day before the season starts, I'm not really expecting people to watch this, and I'm okay with that. Once again, this is my own video, blog, whatever those things are called, to show you that I was right on these 5 guys. Or maybe at least one of them. Y'all have a good one. Looking forward to talking some Overwatch this year. Peace out.